guys, and welcome to another episode of Melanin Meetings. So you may notice that things have switched up a bit here. Olga isn't here with us, but we do have Sara, who has kindly stepped in. So whenever we talk about Sara being involved, here she is in person.
Ta-da!
And she's going to basically join in the conversation on this important topic that we have, which some of you may find a bit difficult, but we think it's very vital and it's necessary that we do talk about it. So today we're going to be talking about manipulation and abuse, which could be emotional, mental, physical, and abuse and manipulation / grooming as well can happen to both men and women. So if we're talking from a general point of view, but if you do see us guiding more towards women, it's because we're more speaking from a female perspective. Know that grooming, manipulation, and abuse, all forms of it, can happen to both men and women. So we just want to make that clear to everyone. So ladies, let's jump right into it. First question that I have for you guys is, while growing up, do you think our parents were able to, or did they educate us enough to be able to know the signs of when we were being manipulated, abused, groomed? And I'm talking specifically about our parents, because we always say the first education comes from home, okay? Yes. So we're not necessarily talking about what we learned out in the streets or whatever the case is, but let's start with home first. Do you think our parents educated us? Do you think that they did enough for us to be able to tell the signs? And when I say tell the signs, we've all been in a situation where there's been a house party and people come around and you have these tontons that are there. You're there serving drinks because mom, auntie, whoever has been like, oh, kendo servir tontoana and all that kind of stuff. And you know that there's always that one who tries to be cheeky and, you know, he makes a comment that's very, very inappropriate. So if you were ever in that situation, what has been your reaction to that situation? And did your parents speak to you about said behaviors from these men? I'm going to start with, you first.
I didn't have I never had the conversation with my parents until I was in that situation. So if I was to say that I was equipped with knowledge from my parents on what to do if that had happened before it had happened, then I'd be lying. Mm-hmm. You know, it was a case of, I'm in the situation, it's happened, then I'm gone to my mom and said, listen, mom, you know, that uncle's a bit weird, or he's looking at me weird. And then my mom would then explain to me and be like, okay, you know, him doing this, or him saying this, or him looking at you like this, it means this, you should do this if it happens again, things like that. So having the conversation beforehand, no, it wasn't a case of my mom has been telling me constantly and then it happened and I knew what to do. Mm-mm. But it's like in the salamaki, to salam, déjà mal à l'aise. And obviously, pour naza mal à l'aise, ni na web sa maman, que non, maman, you know, naza mal à l'aise, tonton, you know, zolo ba boito, atala nga boito, asala nga ba geste more bizarre. And then mom would tell me that, okay, it means this, it means that. And when I say it was just bizarre, there's one thing that, I don't know if it's ever happened to you guys, but there's some tontos that they'll shake your hand in it and then they'll scratch the palm of your hand, slide. And I never knew what that meant. So I told it happened to me twice, same person. And I told my mom, I was like, every time he shakes my hand, he always scratches the palm of my hand. And my mom told me, she goes, you know, so faire attention. So that's what I mean by geste. So things like that I would then bring to my mom. My mom would be like, okay, it means this, it means that, you know, speak up or pekisakaye, things like that. So no, I wasn't told or never had the conversation beforehand. It was always after, I guess.
Okay. And what about you, Sara?
Oh, for me, honestly, this whole situation with abuse, mental, whether it's mental, physical, vraiment, Pulanga, eloko e tombera vraiment dans mon cœur. Je vous dis, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because I've got girls, you know, or maybe it's just because I'm a woman. I don't know. But this whole situation with abuse, whether it be mental, like I said, or physical, for me, abuse is like abuse. Je pense que là, Crystal, lui, c'est vraiment vrai. Je pense, ma parole, abisso. I'm just gonna go with what Crystal said because I'm kind of in her opinion, vraiment, Naza dedans. Ça veut dire que je pense que community n'abuse déjà, and I talk about Congolese community, the African community. On a un problème. On a un problème sérieux. Christelle a autour le clairement. Ce qui est oh, aolingayo. Oui, mais qu'est-ce que tu fais par rapport à ça? Qu'est-ce que nos parents, ça par rapport à la citation? I've been in a situation just like Crystal. I've never had a conversation with my parents where it's like, you know, avant l'ikambweya. Avant l'ikambweya, ke boza la kabwe, citation bwekoye la yo. I've never had that. And it means in so many situations, I've never gone back to my parents to say, papa ta likambubu. Because I'm even afraid to go towards my parents because my parents have introduced this man as my uncle, which he's not. He's introduced this person as someone who is close to the family or he's a family member, which he's actually not. And that's one thing as well. And so I'm afraid to go back. So I've never gone back to my parents and said, this person is doing this or that. I've always, you know, I remember this one time I was actually in school. I was in first year. And my dad asked this tonton, papa, whatever, to drop me keys in the house because they weren't going to be home. They basaient un rendezvous. Et du coup, he comes to school and he, you know, I can a secretary. And then they call me from my class, like in a secretariat, and he pulls me down. He was like, come this way. They're thinking he's my uncle, right? He pulls me down. He says to me, Papa bina peso fungula because bawazatin and that. And I was like, and that it was usual, chua. He lived, you know, the family lived just around the corner from us. It was fine. And he says to me, because I didn't have a phone. He was like, na telephone. I was like, I'm not allowed a phone because I wasn't allowed a phone. C'est la vérité.
No, go on. This is the truth. This is the reality that we live.
And so he says to me, do you want a phone? And I was like 14, 13 at the time. And I was like, I'm not allowed a phone. Mind you, I had a phone when I was 16, but that was Wumba. But I'm just saying official phone. So at that time, I didn't have a phone. And he was like, I was like, yeah. He's like, mama, papa te. I kind of went like, okay. And I was like, okay, mama, papa te. Donc, son bleu téléphone. Et puis, ayo sanga. Et puis, nene, so pissing up bomb. And I'm thinking, what? What's this apple? What's this? You know? He's like, so. And all this conversation, right, we had it for about literally 20 seconds, because I had to go back into class. He's like, no, and I said this to my sister. I never went to my parents because we never had that conversation. We've never been in a situation where we could have that kind of conversation. So I would even be afraid to go to them because déjà à tonton. Donc, du coup, I went to my sister, and my sister was the one that actually fought the battle for me. She actually went to him. You know, she was like, if you do this again, I swear I'll tell your wife. And and that's what happened. Tu vois? Je pense que le commencement déjà, c'est que nos parents, ils ont introduce us to people who, déjà, dans l'obité qui famille peut pas ça ma bé. Je dis pas ça. Mais when you widen the circle, putting everyone in the box, il y a plus de dangers. Donc.
Okay, yeah, I totally agree with you guys. I guess what I can add to you is similar to yourselves. I'm actually more in Sarah's boat than I am in Crystal's boat in that I agree with both. My parents didn't have that discussion with me. But like Sarah, I was afraid to bring those conversations to my parents because it's someone that you've been introduced to as an uncle. And let's not forget, it could be someone who is an auntie as well that's been introduced to you, or this is someone as I am. Do you get me?
Yeah.
Especially that one, you know?
Yeah.
And for you, you're like, okay, fine. If it's someone that my parents have entrusted, then who am I to, you know, to speak against them because they probably won't believe me. Do you get me? But to ask the question, on Sarah's situation there, the story that you just explained there, where someone who was offering you a phone and giving you perks and privileges, let's just call it that. If Sarah, if you went and followed through with that, okay, you didn't confide in your sister, but if you went and you followed through, let's be honest, that is like the first stages of grooming, okay?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So let's go a bit further. Do you think then that you should have had the cop on to know and say no? Because you said you were in secondary school. So at that stage, you've got somewhat of, you know, a bit of cop on, as they say. So do you think that had you gone ahead with that, should you have been wise enough to say no to him from the get-go? Or do you think that there are instances where people just get impressed by these things and you just fall into that trap?
Oh yeah, but that's, il y a mot but, il y a groomer, is that mot. Is that, en fait, for me, I déjà, when he started off, I found it weird. The fact that he wanted to buy me a phone. Mind you, this guy's in his 40s and I was like 13, 14, 13, 14. And for me personally, like, parce que weird. I found it weird. And then when you start talking about the tree and apples, I was kind of like, okay. So I told my sister. Mais pour les autres, and this is something that I remember we had a conversation with Crystal. We were kind of like, maturité. Peut-être, est-ce que ça maturité, je ne sais pas. Est-ce que ça koye, plus, je ne sais pas. Mais pour les autres, peut-être, dans un moment, on m'a bêté. Azion vraiment que tonton, a pu un téléphone. Tu vois? A pu un téléphone. Et peut-être, she'll scratch out the fact that he said the tree and just said, oh, he's getting me a phone. Tu vois? And he wants me to keep the phone. He doesn't want mom and dad to know because mom and dad don't want me to have a phone. So he's being that nice uncle. So that's kind of what I would say when it comes to that situation. For me, it didn't click well on Ponanga, tu vois. For me, déjà I knew a lot, tu vois. And it had nothing to do with my parents. It had to do with my surroundings. My sisters, my friends especially, tu vois. I had friends who were much older than me. So there's certain things I got it quick, tu vois. Maybe if that answers your question. And that's the situation we have because there's certain children, or Nicole même âge 13 ans, elle connaît rien. Is a boy or girl? Elle est beloté. Donc, tu utilises un peu innocence. Il y a moi, on a au sala, ou on a posa au sala derrière. On a mauvaise pensée, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I agree. Crystal, what about you? Do you think that at that age you should have a bit of cop on to know?
It depends. Me personally, yes, I did have the cop on at the age. I think it's to do with, again, what Sarah said. It's to do with the surroundings. You know, the surroundings and the environment we were in caused us to mature quicker than we would have liked. Na shwati donc nga vraiment na biyebi ke no na timba na avant. You know, na timba bana tongo. Donc déjà non jamais na ko joilo ko sana pesa. Surtout pour la kola. Au pesa nga phone na ngopo. For what? Oza tonton oza tonton. You understand? Na age na yebi ke tonton o oza tonton camarade ya papa, tonton oza tonton famille.
Yeah.
Na yebi on donc famille. I'm not saying that family uncles don't abuse, they do. But you would know the difference. Peut-être tonton ya famille yebi ke no wana nièce na pesa e cadeau téléphone, peut-être no ulterior motives. Mais tonton o camarade ya papa o pesa nga phone wana na ndeni na sens ni. You know, in Sarah's case, the fact that she went to her sister already shows that she found it weird and she knew what this was about. Yeah, that's why she went to someone older. But in my case, it's not that it was easy for me to go to my mom because of me and my mom's relationship, but I had no older sister. I had no one to go to but my mom. And because Nakomaki tellement mal à l'aise dans ma situation, I had to go to somebody, and that somebody was my mom. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Parents a dit sur ça la raison que non yo ok au lobby si vos parents ils ont tu parents au sala something parents a dit sur ça tonton a continué tonton c'est fongo là qui dit que la Sara l'école
yes
they still leave you in that situation. You understand? Like I feel like our parents put us in these situations and they're like, yeah, figure it out.
Oh yeah
And even when you do oh, le quitter pour la ligne. Attention au lobby. Et on vous a la peine à courage au lobby. T'es pas sur ton lobby, tu as vu que ton avis sur solution, t'es pas bien au parent d'avis sur.
I absolutely agree.
Au ça là, on a bien le côté. You know, et ça rare au vraiment que non, j'ai une fille de tinga, na yo yeb so maman que non, tonton ou camarade papa dérange un gâteau, atala d'armant, tant yeb ça n'a que servir rien. Et ça rare au moins que non, ah, dingue ça na tonton na bon ya rasu, ah, t'es ça tata non, au moins sur le binanda.
Yes.
Au moins le binanda.
I will smack you. If you try it with my daughters, I swear.
No, I think
it was like that. Where I tell mom and she'd be like, okay, yeah, just stay away from him. The most my mom would do is that, okay, when I say I feel so bad, so by him, I don't know. That's it. That's it.
But that's dangerous because if as a parent you're not putting that stop to that situation, that person, that man or that woman is going to be like, okay, well, it's okay for me to do that. Because what if you're in an environment where you're not around your parents, you're not in your home, you're somewhere else, that same person is there and does the same thing? It's even more dangerous for you as an individual, because how do you even escape that situation?
Listen, I had these my school for free. You understand? Like, these doctors will show people, they know that Christella's got a break at 12 o'clock. Woman déjà partir les parking at Central at lunch. They come to my school. There was one incident where some doctor was trying to holler me in it. And as we all know, as a doctor, and I have a lot. You understand? So Amonanga, and he was like, he dropped hints. And that's what credit back then, but credit I Vodafone 20, no, Meteor, 20 euro free calls. And I would always be like, no, I don't need your credit, like I'm fine. And there was one time, I no a lot. And I would look a lot, so to Nicole. He got angry and he was like, oh, yo so boy about lingayo. Yo ibite ke tata na yo mo kuta linga ba jen fi bon ye ba linga ete. And I was just kind of like, yo, what did you say? So for me, I was like, okay, first of all, as a man, so lingo linga mwasi kokitsa mobali mususu te, joni kokitsa mutu mususu te, po yo ozo linga mutu mususu koto, you get me? Linga mutu na ndenge na muza mobali, don't bring anybody else's name in it, kokitsa mutu te. You know, and then number two, nazamuana ipana orozwanini ipana ngai nazamuana. You understand? And for if that's what my dad does, then that's his business. It's not my business. So it doesn't mean because according to you, tata nanga sala rango dongape lokola asala rango papa na badisusu ngape ifuna ndi baba sala rango ipana nga. No, ezamabe. So that's just so those are vraiment. Is that people say no idea about tonton ni to sala na bango vraiment na communauté na biso.
Oh yes, yeah.
So, abimisa ke lo kwana na kanda parce que azomona ke no mono azoboya nga donc posa na ezaka ka ke no ngana na koma ka na bima na tonton o. Donc kanda muto bisi na bêtise. Kanda e bisi na buzoba kanda ezali ke I disrespect my dad in the process. Do you understand? So like Sarah said, beats na always alive. No, look, that's a groomer. A groomer is so on it. Like he wants it one way or the other.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I totally agree.
Let me throw a spanner in the works here, right? So we've mentioned about how, Crystal, you specifically mentioned there about how an older man coming to love or coming to approach a younger girl, what's he going to do with her? We see instances where relationships are now forming with an older man and a younger girl, or an older woman, and a younger man. Yes. Are we see, or in your opinion, and we're going to be real, we're going to be honest here, in your opinion, do you see that as grooming as well? Do you see that as manipulation as well?
Sarah, go ahead.
I knew you were going to say, I knew you were going to come back to me.
Go on.
Bon, tu as eu la situation, la discussion ensemble. Et I think I'm going to stay with what I said the last time, which was a private conversation we had with Crystal. Well, now we're having it here. Please, men who are in their 40s, buluka basi obazo, baza un peu plus bembenya âge na bino. Ponanga muta 40 ans, abimana muta 18 ans. Désolé, je suis désolée, c'est un prédateur pour moi. C'est un prédateur parce que on ne peut pas. Non, on ne peut pas. Désolé. Après, like I said the last time, I said you could have 18-year-olds who are very much mature. As I'm mature, no, it's a no for me. It's a no for me. Après, je sais pas, it just doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't. And for me, for a guy who is in his 50s or he's 45, he's looking at an 18-year-old or 20-year-old, I'm sorry, it just doesn't work. Why are you looking at an 18-year-old? Why?
So you try to tell me if one of your girls comes to you and be like, "Mommy, the guy I'm dating is like 20 years older than me." What are you saying?
Banda wapi, parce que déjà, on a eu diqué, ou t'as déjà mouki, on a eu diqué. It doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't. Après, I'm not here to judge anyone who's probably in a relationship where the guy or the woman is 20 years older. Pour moi, personnellement, je vois une petite gamine de 17 ans, de 18 ans, and we've seen it. We've seen stories going a bit viral left and right about, you know, not going to say names, but a 16-year-old getting with a 40-year-old man, getting married, and then we see the outcome of citation wana. Tu vois, moi je pense qu'une enfant de 17 ans attend ma classe, a mature dans ma bébé, 18 ans, ça m'a ramsous. Tu vois, mariage shouldn't even be in your head. Or getting into a relationship with 20, mutazali aza age 20 years older than you. It shouldn't be in your pensée. Après ça, c'est moi.
Okay, so let's move away from an 18-year-old. So say this person is a lot more mature. We're talking late 20s, going towards 30s, but they're meeting someone who is 20 years older. Are we still are we still in the same opinion?
No. I changed my opinion because I feel like at that age, for others, for most, I think at that age, aux mature, tu sais ce que tu veux. Moutouté azad derrière yo pas pousse un peu pour la décision là. Je trouve que dans l'âge où tu es un peu plus mature and in order to make a decision like that, to get with someone who's 20 years older than you. I think late 20s, I don't know, I can't give a specific age, but for me, it just comes down, bon, naïveté, parce que naïveté. Just
think about it, late 20s. Let's think about it, because someone who is 30 years let's put this in perspective, right? Someone who is 30, right? And we're talking male or female, girl or boy, okay? Someone who is 30, all right?
Yes.
Dating someone who is 20 years older, that person is 50.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
So we're moving away from the 18 stage because, like you said, 18, you know, focus on education, whatever the case is.
Yes.
But someone who is 30 and they want to settle down and they've met someone who is in their 50s. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Are we of the opinion that should not happen, or what is your thought on that?
Oh non, 30, Aza, c'est une femme qui connaît ce qu'elle veut, peut-être a vécu déjà Maramébélé par rapport à vie. Et tant de décision naïe, ou t'as 30 ans de décision naïe par rapport à l'homme ou à la vie naïe, who's peut-être much older, who's much younger, je sais pas. Tout le barra older, parce que c'est ça qu'on est en train de parler. Donc, Aza much older, pour l'anga, je dirais oui. Non, moi, on m'a bêté, tu vois, parce que je trouve qu'elle est assez mature pour faire un peu des décisions comme ça.
Okay.
We're talking about marriage, right?
Yeah, we're talking about marriage. Yeah,
because marriage, c'est vraiment tous ensemble pour tout carbonaté. Donc, quand Moutaza a 30 ans, ça vraiment des sujets, bah, Moutaza plus que 20 ans qui est, je trouve que pour moi, 30 ans, oui.
Okay.
I'll say yeah.
Crystal. Yeah. Okay. Crystal, go. What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, Luganine. Ok, Luganine. On a 30 ans, oh, puis maintenant, tata avait dit à 50 ans, 60 ans, ok? Non, oh, Luganine. You understand? Just because you're of age, just because you're mature doesn't make it right. Just because I'm minerte doesn't make it right, in my opinion. Nana 30, nake bibana tata 50, 60, nake lukonini. Eloni. Mais, ezape na baka. Omoni lo tara mansinaki, peut-être Aza à 30 ans déjà, peut-être ça la vie, Aza une déception, peut-être Aza déjà là-bas na misa tout. Alors Lucasiko mobile moko Aza vraiment mature na âge, pe na makanisi wa kuchai à l'aise à Monique non pour nanga na rozwa papa moko pour na 50 ans papa to benga papa tonton te papa. Donc na 50 ans na rozwa papa moko boye o ya movandi na bana o pesi pe bana éducation bien o a tianga l'aise. Donc, what vraiment, I won't blame you. You understand? La vie, on a no olingi stabilité, olingi tranquillité. Okay, now go swim in the 50s or whatever. Mais aux jeunes, wana na 30 ans obota te oza jeune fille moko oza na yo moko ozosala ozolandela carrière na yo nanu mpo bala te yo alioki no kozwa papa ya 50 ans to 60 ans.
Ah, Christelle.
Okay.
Crystal, honestly.
Or you have 2 girls. You have 3 girls. Sorry, Queen Adria. Sorry. You have 3 girls. You said that na âge wana oza na niveau ya maturité, tu trouves que c'est normal. Ce qui fille na omo ka yeli aza na 30 ans, il papa 50 ans, est-ce que yo ndima o 60 ans?
Na bana tout le monde parce que si maté ça va pas
marcher.
J'ai dit mais par rapport à bana déjà tout le monde equation parce que ça va pas marcher. Mais j'ai dit en fait, je peux na koki ko comprendre. Na koki ko comprendre une fille de 30 ans. Na koki ko comprendre des filles de 21 ans, de 20 ans, 18 ans, 22 ans, 25, je peux n'en comprendre des. Mais filles à 30 ans, parce que yozo le banana maintenant, qui est déception et qui ça que aucun ne swim in the 50s. Moi, je pense pas, c'est vrai. Tu vois ce que je veux dire? Moi, pour Nanga, je pense que l'amour, ça, you know, I feel, tout le monde a un amour. Je pense qu'à l'âge à 30 ans, tu sais assez what you want. Tu vois? You know what you want, you know where you're going. And when you introduce a 50-year-old to your family, je pense que tout le monde va comprendre que, tu vois? Que ça passe.
In some cases where there's women that are attracted to older men, you know, we're not taking away from that. Who are attracted to older men. Sis, do you, boo-boo. You know? my opinion. Because for me, I don't see why, you know, unless we're being realistic now, pourquoi pas, you know, take it.
No, but come on, you can't say they're gonna be just get married for money.
No, it happens. You understand?
Basically, Crystal, you're trying to say that there has to be a reason why you're getting into the field.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, une raison. Non, si c'est pas déception, c'est l'argent. C'est ça?
No, not in that sense. But like, okay, there's always a reason why you're in a relationship. There was a reason why I married my husband. There was a reason why for everything. You understand? But I'm not saying money to deception is the only reason. I'm saying, in my opinion, nako comprendre muto azanaka ona lobaki peut-être na 30 ans, oza peut-être na bana déjà 2-3 maybe au bala no pété mais your baby daddy didn't work out, you know, and you want stability, you need tranquilité, and money cannot an older guy of age and maturity, I would understand somebody in that case, man. For me, what I do not understand is a girl like me who's 30, okay, not like me because I'm married, but like, you know, my age, then you don't have kids, never been married, you have a good career, whatever, and for you feel like the only men that are good for you are the ones swimming in the 50s and 60s. That I don't get. Unless you're a woman that's attracted to older men by age, then that's your preference, you understand? But for me,
Jen, let me ask Chris a question. How would this be if it was your son?
I was gonna go there next.
You were gonna go there? Okay, I'll let you go. I'll let Genesis take that.
If your son comes to you and be like, "Mommy, I've met a 50-year-old, and he's in his 30s." Yeah.
I would not be okay with it. I wouldn't.
Okay.
I would not be okay with it. Yo oza na 30 ans, oza jeune garçon à 30 ans, ozo ke no mona nzo pa mama 50. Yani to yeli. Yo, oi goma. Omi ngai moko. Na mama no omi ngai ke no mama ngai ye. Dongane to baninga. Nande.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so let me ask this, okay? Because some people will say that it's a form of manipulation as well, of an older person going to like a younger person regardless of age. We've already established that someone who's 18, 20, 21, that we don't necessarily agree. Now, you know, each to their own, but say someone who's 30 to some people, they'd be like, okay, were they manipulated into that relationship, or was there some sort of emotional blackmail or something like that? Did they play on their situation? Because like Crystal said, it could be someone who's gone through a lot. They've come and they've met somebody who's a much older. They know their story, and they play on that to try and get an in as well. One question, and Sarah kind of hit on this already, but the question I have is, do you think as parents, then we have a role to play in setting up our kids' future in terms of the relationships that they will form down the line? Or is that something that we can only give our thoughts, but let our kids make those decisions for themselves? Which side would you be on? Because Sarah's already saying it's not going to happen, but what if it does?
No. No.
So you tell me that you would be educating your kids so it doesn't happen? Is that the approach that you will be taking?
No, not that I'm going to say it shouldn't happen, but trust me, I'll give you the hints that it won't happen. But for me, I always say that, bon, en général, je parle de tout ce qu'on a parlé, hein? Not just the topic about age difference, par rapport à grooming, everything that we've just Moi, je dis toujours génération la vie, so we have to do better. Our children need to be better. They need to be educated différemment. Tozu pa ma parent la vie c'est malamu, let's take it. Yamabe tout chanwa à côté. Tozu malamu. Et puis we've all grown here, like business to vandia we've been to botami practically in a poto, tu vois. Et tozu pe abolamu awa. Mabe tocha à côté, tocha abolamu. Et let's educate our kids with what we've learned, that Mr. Moon is a malamu. Na oba paraba pesibiso is a malamu. I feel like our generation, our kids have to do better. Our kids have to do better. They need to be better people. Na aspignoso. Je pense que c'est vraiment ça. Et ça, c'est moi. Foundation for me, is un Zambé. Après le reste, je te montrerai vie. Tu vois, c'est que moi, je connais. Et après, together with my husband. Parce que tu vécu ma vie différent. Il y a malam où il pas eu un angon, après à malam où nous avons tous 5 ans together, and to educate our boys too. To respect women. And that's vraiment what I can say when it comes to your question.
Crystal?
I'd probably be in the middle, because I would want to educate and then tell my son, listen, at the end of the day, it's your choice. But I would also want to tell my son that, no, right, understand, it can't happen. Mais tout mondo toujours vivre, moi, na aux éducation là pour aux éducation libanda.
Yes.
Ça na choisi. Ça le bilo moi fondation ezala nzambe, après wana sikobino wa parents, bo éduquer bana bino. You know, because arozone na kati ya ndaku, oui, mais arozope libanda bakenda na classe, ba kutana ba camarades, donc arosala vie na donc oya arozana ndaku, arozope libanda to na choisi. You understand? I think for me, I would be in the middle, because I would be telling my son, listen, I would rather not, but it's your choice when you're older. But then again, I would rather not, period. It's not happening. You get me? So it's very difficult to say, because like I said, the world that we live in, social media especially as well, you just never know in what direction your kids are going to go, even if you tried your best, you know? At the end of the day, via mutu is na maboko nzambe pe na maboko na ba decision pe na maboko na yimo donki. That's all I can say when it comes to
not to cut Crystal as well. I think what she said there was really important, because me and my husband were having a conversation about sex. We were like, will we talk to our kids about sex? You know, and as we know, in the household of African, that subject is literally out the door. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I don't know, maybe you guys, your parents, spoke to you guys about it.
Everywhere.
But when it comes to me, it was kind of a subject, even when you're watching a movie, start kissing, your dad kind of changes. Donc, je pense que c'est qui crée ça, lui, c'est très important. Je pense que moi, naola kisabango, tu vois. Et après, I will emphasize que I rather not. I rather que osalango boué. Mais après, ma décision est belle. And like I said, like the topic about sex, I will speak to them about it. Now, so I will educate them. Parce que na lingi ba yo kango libandate. You know, buy kwango libanda to buy kompa na ngana papa na bango, and protection and all that I need to do in order to set them in the path. I don't know. Tu vois, ba et je pense que Nesco Baroyo Kalibanda, parce que Chris a levé exactly éducation ma camarade, les gens qui sont à côté. Mais I will emphasize que dans l'igate za na boyi. Après, je pense décision et ça na maboka ye moro mutu. Je pense que
parce que ceux qui ont déjà éducation tako ata soki mwana zo Kalibanda ibake mama nanga sa yebisanga papa nanga sa lobelanga. Tout na makambo kali sous sexe nenge Sara lobi na yebiango parce que papa nanga to solango. Me in my house, where my mom's house growing up, we never spoke about sex. The only thing I was told is zim. Zim. That's all I heard. Zim. But zim and then nini zim for the solango. And is that my babe? You have to have these conversations with your kids.
Yes.
They're very, even me when I had my period, I never spoke about my period before my mom. I didn't know what to expect. When I had the period, I bled. I told my mom, I said, Mom, I've been ill, I've been cramping, and I bled. Oh, that's your period. You know what a period is? I'm thinking, so you're waiting for it to come, but you tell me what it was. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
These are we need to have. You need to prepare your daughters. You need to prepare your sons. Because when you're preparing your son from now up until he's going to be older, it's going to show in how he treats women. When you're preparing your daughters from now until they're older, it's going to show in how they live with men, how they also treat men, what they know they're allowed to put up with and they're not to put up with when it comes to men. Do you understand? No, it works both ways, man. What we leave out is educate our boys, especially. The man is the leader. Donc, éducation, il faut être à tous les deux côtés, mais mingi pas mibali. Pour tous autres se retrouver dans ma balle, les autres, dans mi balle na biso bazoy banenge ya ko traiter bisoté, bazoy banenge ya ko chérir bisoté, parce que they never knew this, they never had this conversation. But me, I will do it with my son. I will tell him this is how you treat a woman. Sometimes sometimes there's nothing wrong with that. I think with our parents and growing up, it's like it's not good for a man to be in touch with his feminine side. Those things are feminine.
Yes.
And it's wrong.
Yeah.
So pour aider pour ngana aider futur moi si à Timothée na ko pesa éducation déjà now. Pourtant il y a azuke bala moi si na yo kateke Timothée sala ngabo Timothée kutasala boité non na ni moi si ne azala less na ulinga moi si ne less ayeba ke non isika ye plus ibaye ko bala ye aza bien because I educated my son and I told him the do's and don'ts. But none of us got that in our homes. Yeah, a lot of the things, I had this conversation with Sara, and a lot of the things that, I heard from my mama, église, na batontin, na procédure à libala, moi si fala la boy, moi c'est traité mobile, moi si boy. But you wouldn't really hear like, mobile, expect this from your mobile.
Yes.
Outside, boy, you know. So isn't it you be to esclavagisme, quoi? You know what I mean? Really bad. It's just about you and what you have to do and what you have to provide. But I'm not gonna raise my child like that.
Let me throw in a question here, actually. Because you said that, Crystal, and this, I think that's a situation where a lot of us were in. Like similar with me, my parents didn't have that conversation with me beforehand of how to be in a relationship, whatever the case is. It was actually days before my Dutch was when that conversation was being had, in that, you're going into marriage, so you need to make sure you're X, Y, and Z, that you do this, you do that, men like this, men like that. Do you think that also leaves, and let's talk particularly for women, because we've been in the situation, but do you think that also puts women in a dangerous situation to be abused in their relationship, because men would have the idea that this is what the women have been told, that a woman needs to literally be my maid, my Cinderella, and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So do you think that it's dangerous by educating that way, because it opens up the door for women to be abused in their marriage.
I'll tell you why it opens up the door for. It opens up the door for kangam tema.
Oh, yeah.
That's why it opens up the door for. It opens up the door for.
Yes.
That's why it's the door for. So
Yes.
it is dangerous. Anyway, Sarah, go ahead.
Honestly, that's that slogan ebomisi basebele.
Yes.
Na mabala basi bakufi na kata libala because of kanga mutema. And I think absolutely, Genesis, you literally pour moi, when they say libala is apasi, I don't think about dishes, cooking. I don't think about cleaning the house, to be quite honest with you, ladies. I think about you and your husband, beaucoup mana même pensée. Ça veut dire que beau c'est mélangé, beau yé bana. Because guys, you can be with someone for 5 years outside of nanda que vous va na bimi balé. Oye bien nanti. Oui, aboumeli moi bizali mususu asala ngote devant toi parce que azana opportunité asala ngo. Donc tant de beau va ensemble, moi babilo mususu ebimaka que tu savais pas en fait. Et moi j'ai dit tout ça que pour la rata baba liba les a pas pour les awana que beaucoup mabilo balé bozo c'est comprendre. Et ça ba sanité, et ça rolambate, et ça ko sur la banate. That's not for me. That's not libala passi. For me, libala passi is that you n'amba nous beaucoup mana point que bozo c'est comprendre. Oui, bi que amba nanga so azabou ouais. Moi c'est nanga pe so azabou il faut na ça la par rapport à bilomi bali c'est rien à voir avec tout ce qui est basani et tout ça. And I respect Crystal for you saying that you're going to raise your son to a point that I respect women. Et puis d'un point que I treat women moi si na bien. Et qu'on traitait moi si bien, ça veut pas qu'à rose, fleur. Non. I don't say the household is about to be balé. C'est about to be balé. Mais tout le monde a leur travail. Je suis tout à fait d'accord. Mais on doit être un pour aider Ndakwe qui est liboso. That's just me.
No, I agree. No, I agree with you.
That's what makes Libala is a passy because boza batumi bale boza na médication et bino boya sikoyo pour koma ni moko mais ba bali bale za passy na ni so ils m'ont zo peta yo supporter ko li bale za passy so ils m'ont supporter pour zande ka mi bale za passy. That's what they say is a passy li bala so ils m'ont bala trop parayo so ils m'ont bala beta rayo so m'ont bala parayo so m'ont bala parayote so m'ont bala ko shiriote. That's what is passy to our moms. That's what they tell us that is. They basically tell us that it's normal. Il faut supporter.
Crystal, can you imagine the conseil? Désolé, il y a bananayo, moi no liboso zambalo. What is that?
Yes.
Have you heard that before? Moi no liboso is that bananayo.
Listen, I think, you know what, if we go into that, because I know we've had this conversation offline, Crystal's going to go off on a mad one. But let me share this one story where I know someone personally who has, and don't worry, I have permission to share the story, so don't worry about that. But I do know someone personally who is in their married home, in their married home right now, and that girl is suffering in her married home. And every time that she's gone back to her mother, to say that her husband is mistreating her and whatever the case is, the response her mom is, Libala is
oh no.
And she's being sent back. And do you know what? You know, there's certain, at times when you're like, what can you actually do about it? Because even if you say you're going to intervene, you don't know what happens behind closed doors. You only know one side of the story. Now, I'm not saying that what she's saying is lies, but you don't want to implicate yourself in someone else's relationship, especially if it's someone that you're not close with. Do you get me? All you can do is really just advise them and give them the information to try and get help and to try and get support. And you know, I just, when I heard the story, I was just like, it doesn't make sense, because to me, if I'm being mistreated in my home, I'm out. I'm not going to allow myself. There's one saying I've heard, and I've heard this so many times, that it resonates with me so much. I'd rather go back to my parents in one piece than go back to my parents in a coffin.
Oh yeah, wow.
And it saddens me that we have parents who are like this, where your child is coming to you. And remember, especially as a mother, right? And this is no shade to dads, but as a mother, you've carried that child for 9 months. You went through every single symptom, whatnots, and the other during that pregnancy. You went through the labor. Like, listen, like my sister-in-law says, yeah, labor, that's so much. Like, we don't play with labor, right? But this is a child that you've carried, and your child is coming to tell you that she's in a difficult situation, and you're sending them back because you make it make sense.
Yeah, you see me, even my child, yes, mais attends, neto Sara, Sara, Jenny, attends maison. Because I'm not gonna have Sarah sit there and I'm only gonna souffrir and I'm only gonna bed them and finger my sister. And people might bash me like a Crystal, no. So I'm not gonna be like deported. No, I'm like, Genesis, if it's not working out, pack your bags and leave. Because like you said, it's either you leave, you're alive, or be mama na olilo
Yeah.
And then they come nini.
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, I'll tell my son, if it's not working, my child, my daughter.
You know what? You can, and you know the sad thing is, you can say that to someone for so long, but if they don't want to, what are you going to do? You're hardly going to go and pull them out by.
No, but at least you can. I did say, I told her, I said my piece.
Yeah.
I'm you know. You get what I mean?
Oh, of course, 100%. Yeah. And that's why I do say that it is very dangerous when our parents don't help us, because it does allow for men and women. Let's not forget that there are women as well who do abuse their husbands. Just because it's not spoken about doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It happens. Okay. We know the female Mike Tysons are out there. We know that. Yeah, we just have to be careful as parents. And I'm with Crystal on this. I've got 2 boys, and my boys are going to be educated till my last breath on how they should be as men in society, men in their surroundings of friendships, and men particularly in the home. Like my son, he's 2, right? But as soon as that utility door is open, he already knows the boss is there. He go and grabs the brush, he starts sweeping. He doesn't even know what he's sweeping. But the fact that he sees his father do it, he himself wants to do it. When it comes to the Hoover in this house, do not touch the Hoover because it's Amaziah's Hoover. I will drag that Hoover out and he will just do it himself. And that's because he sees his dad doing it. So it's important that we are educating our boys. Like, we can educate our girls to the ends of the earth, but at the end of the day, our girls are going to be ending up with the boys. So we have to educate the boys as well. You can't educate one side of the body and leave the other. Like, what's the other side going to do? You need to be able to balance it out and help each other. So for me, I'm with Crystal. We both have boys. And we even talk about this offline as well, of how important it is to be teaching our boys, when a woman says no, she says no. We ain't pushing it. We ain't forcing it. No. If she says no, she says no. Whether it's a joke, whether you think it's a laugh, or no is no. Point blank. We don't go any further than that. You know, being able to respect a woman's boundaries, being able to treat a woman, being able to, make her laugh. And when I'm saying treat, it doesn't always have to be buying her stuff.
Exactly.
A nice compliment saying, oh, you look beautiful, or I like the way you've done your hair, or that lipstick on you is nice, just all those kind of, or you're a very kind person. That's a compliment in itself, So it's really, really important that we are educating our boys as well as educating our girls. Final thoughts. We've spoke about manipulation. We've spoke about grooming. We spoke about abuse. Any final thoughts you want to share with our people?
Oh, wow. Crystal, go ahead.
Sarah's like, let me think about that one. I know I'll put you on the spot.
Listen, people, don't get me wrong. So zala yo, ya 30, olinga kana mibala mikolo ya tala vina yo. Don't go, I'm not against it. Everybody's entitled to opinion. I'm not against it.
Yeah.
You ozala tonton, ozala tantine. If tantine likes all the men, that's fine. If tonton likes all the women, that's fine. So don't get me wrong. Again, as we had said, it's when it comes down to men and women and how we're shaping them up for the future, it's just prayer and education, you know. Prayer, fondation, like Sarah said, is a prayer, and on top of that is our education. As Sarah had said as well, we should start to do better and be better than we were, you know. What we got from our parents, bien, we can pass it on, we can flip it because we've learned from it and also pass it on. So, let's just do better, people.
Cool. Sarah?
Yeah. Oh, I think there's nothing I can add. Crystal, le bien en fait. Le bien en let's just educate our kids. Eza mwasi, eza mubali. Parce que, bon, mi bali ba former ndaku. Donc, du coup, mubali faz la educated, moi faz la educated, pour bas ensemble, ba former ndaku ya bien. Je dis toujours, fondation, eza nzambe. Après, there might be believers bazawate, one is nga. Donc, nga, fondation, c'est Dieu. Et après, le reste viendra. Je pense que, to educate generation generation so let's do better and we can see things have been changing around and you know to mon kende en fait aux autres impacter génération et je pense que biso to boti to impacter ba na biso pour base la bien la société base la moi si as a mobali base la bien for society. Voilà.
No, I love that.
But tonto bolinga kabana mikipo baby sa ba bibino na ye bibino bomo zaba ere o sagalate moto no de Jésus boti kama kambona to ye bibino.
Je pense que Christelle Enga le baba predator parce que next live will be with naming names.
Okay. If there's one thing I can add is to those who are watching, who are in situations where they are being abused and they don't know how to get out. There is help out there. Like I said, you're better off going back to your parents alive than going back to your parents in a coffin. So if there is something that you are not happy with, someone is mistreating you, be it physical, and we're not just talking physical here, we're talking mentally as well, because if you're being abused mentally, that can translate to physical harm being done as well. Okay.
Yes.
So being abused mentally, physically, emotionally, if it's something that you are not happy with, leave. For your protection, preserve your life, especially if there's kids involved, leave. Because the world needs you, your family needs you, and your kids need you. And that's to both men and women. It's both men and women. So if there is anyone that is watching, they find themselves in that situation, there's plenty of support out there. There's plenty of help out there. There's different organizations and so on and so forth that you can contact that can definitely help you out. We're in Europe. This is not Africa. We're in Europe. Okay. There's organizations everywhere that can help you. So please, I beg of you, if you are in that situation, do something about it. Try and pluck up the courage to leave. I know easier said than done. Absolutely easier said than done. But do pluck up the courage because you'll be better for it down the line. So that's kind of my 2 cents. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for joining in for watching our conversation. As usual, if you have your 2 cents, if you disagree with Crystal, make sure to leave a comment down below. And as usual, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And we will. Oh, thank you so much, Sarah, for jumping in. It was nice having you.
Non, on a fait ça version belle, Nana Serge Kalingai, comme toujours. Nom de ma vie. Gros bisous à mes enfants. Oui, oui.
Typical Congolese, this girl, man. This girl. But listen, thank you so much for joining us, Sarah. It was nice having you here chatting with us.
Yes.
As usual, like we always say, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you next time on Melanin Meetings. Bye.